only is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Let's go. Just excuse me. Good morning. Hello, Skull.
It was all that cheering yesterday, Jessi.
It was all the cheering yesterday. I'm Jessi. He's Leighton. He's Jason. This is Purple Dailies Before I Die. So much good to talk about yesterday. First of all, I'm going to dub this episode, boys, the Isaiah Rodgers episode, because I think he is going to take over the Wales share of this episode. Round of applause for Isaiah Rodgers. I kind of feel like it's good karma, too. He was giving away tickets last week, gave it away to a young kid. I think this is his good juju. Record-setting day for Rodgers, you guys. 99.9 PFF, which is the highest rating in history. He's the first player in NFL history to force 2 fumbles and return an interception and fumble for a TD. I also had my kids practicing that punch out as they were watching him, which was fantastic. Let's start with you, Leighton. Here, you have the floor. Isaiah Rodgers, bow down.
Yeah, I mean, put the number in the rafters. Greatest defensive performance of all time. And honestly, there's definitely other games you could probably put up there with him. I don't know him off the top of my head, but when I was watching it unfold, I honestly just couldn't believe, one, that they kept fumbling, and two, it was Isaiah Rodgers that just kept making it happen over and over and over again. And I first want to shout out John Grenard on the pick 6, because he had a huge block up the sideline that basically gave him a free shot to the end zone. Isaiah Rodgers all the way to the end zone to return that one. Also Harrison Smith for tipping it. And then to punch the ball out, and this is a shout out from the football gods, to when you punch the ball out, he didn't even realize it was punched out, and then he just landed flat on the ball, and he's like, oh, the football's right there, picked it up, and then 99 speed to the house. I think that was my biggest takeaway, is I knew he was fast, but goodness, I did not know he was that fast.
Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody. Jason, how about you? I mean, you had retweeted yourself, because I believe back in June or whatever it was that you were saying this is going to be a great pickup. This is a great signing. Come to full fruition yesterday.
Yeah. When every Eagles fan that you know, and I have a lot of friends that are Eagles fans for some reason. I just like torturing myself. Yeah. But when they're like, he didn't make sense for us to keep, but you guys got a dog, that's a good sign. And yeah, I think to Leighton's point, as far as the speed, Josh Metellus was saying he was having to sprint faster than he ever has just to keep up with Isaiah when he was starting to slow down. Insane. Also, I have to do this because it was the first time a Vikings player has scored 2 defensive TDs in the same game, but I have to, and this person called it out themselves yesterday. Chandon Sullivan got absolutely robbed in the Colts game 3 years ago. Yeah, that was 3 years ago. That was 2022. Yeah, so I have to say that was a record that technically probably should belong to him, but it doesn't take away from what Isaiah Rodgers did. I think he was asking for nicknames a while ago on Twitter, and Isaiah Rodgers Sr., I went with IRS, because no matter what happens, he's going to get his back, and he did yesterday.
I like that.
That's a dope, right? I'm proud of myself for that one. But no, he was awesome. The PFF grade thing is insane. It was the longest interception return the Vikings had since Xavier Rhodes against the Cardinals. Just records on records. And the funny thing is, as I even pointed out before this game, he was in the top right echelon if you're looking at all the PFF charts of coverage grades this year. He has been, again, it continues the theme of, I don't know, and obviously there's a lot of why can't I think of the word Kwesi? Collaboration. There it is. Always talks about with the coaching staff, but this is again another example of the coaching staff and Kwesi working together to find these absolute stud free agents. I can't keep explaining. He can't keep getting away with this. This is insane. Absolute steal of a signing. I would not be shocked if he's going to be your cornerback 1 to an extent long term, and that's even outside of just yesterday. Obviously, the only thing is size there, but he's. I don't even know. Historic's the only way that you can really summarize what we saw from him yesterday.
Whatever drill they did in practice the previous week to start punching those balls out, every football coach in America should steal that. If KOC is willing to give it up or B-Flow is willing to give it up, because it was just time and time again like peanut punch to the max, just perfect execution. If you looked it up
on
in the
Chase
dictionary.
too. On Jamar Chase too,
Yeah.
which I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this. Everybody's like, "Oh, the Bengals were playing their bunch of scrubs out there." Well, Jamar Chase, he caught the ball. Like at that point, he's got nobody to blame but himself, and he's one of, not number one, but he's one of the best receivers in the game. And for him to do that on him, that's impressive as well. This wasn't some third string guy that he was going up against.
Where does
So
this set our bar? Go
I
ahead,
saw
Leighton.
someone was claiming this as the bowl for being the best wide receiver in the NFL because they were both backup quarterbacks, both playing at noon. Just let's lay it all out there. Same situation. Let's see who does
Debate
better.
over.
And Justin Jefferson did better. So
Debate over. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was kind of excited in a weird way, just like in a meme mentality that like at halftime both of them were doing nothing, and I was very excited to tweet at the end of the game like generational wide receiver performance. Both of them had like 15 yards, but that one catch Jefferson had, he was moving like Adrian Peterson almost. He was bullying
He
through
wanted
guys.
to score really bad.
He wanted that
broke out of
TD
two,
so bad. He wanted to hit that gritty hard.
My underdog wanted that TD as well, just so we're clear. That did not help me at all, but darn it, that's okay. Speaking of bullying, Jordan Mason, another great game. I think we're going to see him more and more throughout the weeks, right, Leighton? Like I think you're just starting to see he is that guy, and I think it's another credit offensively. He did fantastic. Yeah,
100%. And I think first play of the game, they run it right behind Christian Darrisaw. He gets around the edge for a nice, 8-9 yard gain, whatever it was, but setting the tone right from the jump. I mean, we're going to run it behind our best lineman with our rookie left guard. That now that he has his companion back, we're going to see what this left side can do. Just completely wash down the line. Great first play to start it off. But yeah, Jordan Mason was he's an absolute wrecking ball. And I mean, the Vikings play calling was great, stretching the field horizontally, getting the lanes open. And I just saw, I forget his name on Twitter, just breaking down the Donovan Jackson film, but he did awesome yesterday. And I think a big testament to that is Christian Darrisaw getting back in the lineup. I mean, it makes everything so much easier. But yeah, Jordan Mason, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of them going forward, especially with Xavier Scott being a reliable pass catching option. I don't know if Jordan Mason's hands are the most reliable. So the fact that they're able to have that without Aaron Jones in the lineup too, it's another nice 1-2 punch with Mason feeling more like the first punch instead of the second, in lieu of, Aaron Jones being out of the lineup.
Right. 15 carries for 116 yards and 2 tutties for Mason. Jason, do you see them really leaning and utilizing? Now, again, the Bengals not so great at stopping the run, so that definitely worked in the favor of Mason's final stat line. But do you see Mason continuing to assert himself, as Leighton said, as kind of the guy, especially while Aaron Jones is out?
I don't care if Aaron Jones is out or not. Jordan Mason should be the guy. And I've been saying that since I kind of had a feeling that was going to be the case. And I've been saying that since the middle of the Bears game. Jordan Mason is just a game changer. Scott had an incredible game behind him. I know it wasn't super flashy with numbers, but it's exactly what you wanted in the context of what he was asked to do. I think Cam Akers came in and had a drop, but I'm not worried about that. He's had a week. Also, this is our first episode back since Cam Akers watched 2025. So this is going to mark that for the year. We'll celebrate again next year, I'm sure. But no, I think Jordan Mason, one, obviously having Christian Darrisaw in there, but two, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, but it was an entirely different offensive philosophy, and it's exactly what we had been asking for. I'm sure that will totally have implications on other key positions that we'll talk about. But I think leaning on Jordan Mason is the way to go. Yesterday, I said, was Mike Zimmer's dream game. 2 defensive TDs. You had your running back score 2 touchdowns with over 100 yards rushing, and your quarterback threw 2 touchdowns and under 200 yards. So it is kind of weird to go from like Kevin O'Connell's got this flashy, high-flying offense to like, hey, maybe we finally have the roster to do the sustained, eat the clock, stop the opponent type of thing that we've been waiting to do. But if it wins games, I don't care how flashy it is. I don't care. Obviously the passing game with Justin Jefferson's more exciting than pound it out running, but I don't care. Win the game. Jordan Mason is how you do that.
Yeah, I'd agree. You mentioned the quarterback. We talked about it. It was the duel of backups on Sunday. Carson Wentz. How are we feeling about that performance? It was fine, in my opinion. It didn't get me off the couch raring like, let's go Carson Wentz. He's my guy now. But it was fine. It worked, right, Leighton?
Yeah, it worked. I tweeted out, I think you could put any quarterback in the history of the NFL back there and they would have won that game. So the fact that people were like, oh, you totally changed the whole momentum of the game when without JJ back there, I mean, JJ McCarthy could have done exactly what Carson Wentz did. Again, having your left tackle there makes a world of a difference. But yeah, I think the play calling was better too. First pass play of the game, Justin Jefferson goes in motion and they throw a screen to him and he runs it for 7-8 yards. And that's exactly what I was calling for last week. You just need to find ways to get him the ball, preferably not putting him in the backfield like the Cowboys did with CeeDee Lamb and then letting his ankle get rolled up on. That was one of the oddest plays I've ever seen in my life, but it's the screens. It's the putting him in the backfield and having him run a route. It's those unique ways to get him the ball, your best player the ball. And I think they did a good job of that early in the game, making him a threat throughout the rest of the game. And then Justin Jefferson was making it happen after the catch as well. But yeah, I think Carson Wentz did all right. But like I said, I think JJ McCarthy could have done the exact same thing. Nothing special. Hung onto the ball too long a couple times, had good pocket presence. But again, the pocket was just a lot cleaner because the offensive line was a lot better. And you had all 5 guys play the entire game besides while the game was close, I guess, because Darrisaw went out. But not having guys coming in and out, school went out last week. Ryan Kelly went out last week. It makes a world of a difference.
Sure. Wentz going 14 for 20, 173 yards, 2 DDs, did get sacked 3 times because he still is Carson Wentz, who likes to hold on to that ball just a smidge too long. But Jason, are you happy that you had a guy like Carson Wentz to lean on in this situation? You know, again, a serviceable quarterback. Max Brosmer also getting in. We have to talk about that. He gets his 2 first NFL completions, which is very exciting. But nice to have Wentz back there. I mean, for the time and no question.
I'd even go beyond serviceable. I'd say he played well. Like and shockingly, anyone who knows anything about me knows like I am a full believer in the long-term plan with JJ McCarthy, but I agree with Leighton. I think the biggest difference yesterday was twofold. It was Christian Darrisaw and it was the change in offensive philosophy. I did not see Wentz do anything yesterday that I don't think JJ McCarthy is fully capable of doing. And again, like that's yesterday's game. We might look at something crazy in Dublin or if Wentz ends up playing in London and be like, oh, you know what? I'm really glad I have a 10+ year NFL vet back there. I saw people saying like, and it is typically the people who want a victory lap that McCarthy's out or something. And they're the ones pushing the shadow benching narrative. Oh, Carson Wentz is the reason we won this game. You could turn both of his touchdowns into pick sixes and this team still wins by 2 scores. Not to take away from like Carson did exactly what he was asked to do, but statistically speaking, it was not very different than what JJ did in week 1. Mm-hmm. It just isn't. I think he had like 20, 30 more yards, but a lot of that was Justin Jefferson just being psycho after the catch. Again, I don't want to take away from Wentz coming in on 3-4 weeks notice and operating the offense well, but there was nothing I saw where I'm like, oh, he's not giving this job back yet. I think the change in offensive philosophy is going to be huge. Now, I expect Wentz to look a lot better next week because second week, we'll prep as the starter, but also a certain wide receiver is coming back. A certain 3 has been freed, and that is going to dynamically change this offense. I may be mistaken. Addison hasn't even been allowed to practice, if I'm not mistaken, until this coming week.
I'm not sure how all that works.
Yeah, it's weird. Different suspensions have different things, but I'm going to assume he hasn't been getting a ton of reps, even if he has been with Wentz. So that's also a connection that has to be built. So there's a lot of layers to it. I'm fully willing to admit if Wentz goes out next week and throws 400 yards, like, yeah, let's ride the hot hand because I want to win. But I also still think 1,000,000% long-term JJ McCarthy, getting him reps is the best thing to do. And I think with this improved offensive play calling, I don't even think, Leighton, correct me if I'm wrong. even the types of route designs were very different. I can't remember a single out route to the sideline this week. Can you?
There was a couple quick passes to there was one to Naylor that I can remember, but yeah, no, not
nearly as many.
No.
I mean, the offensive philosophy, the slants, the in routes, like all those things were very different than the play calling, the route design. And I'm okay with keeping that, whether it's Wentz or whether it's McCarthy. It worked.
Well, and I want to see it. Go ahead.
Addison was able to practice and participate in the preseason games during his suspension, was just inactive for weeks 1, 2, and 3. So for what that's worth.
Got it. Okay. I know sometimes suspensions are different. So thanks
for sure. For sure.
I just want to see what this offense looks like in a game where your defense doesn't have 5 takeaways. Because it's again, I think the offense was stagnant in the first half. The first drive was awesome. After that, they honestly didn't do much. Like they weren't moving the ball whatsoever. They had a short field. They only got a field goal after getting, they had the ball at the plus side of the 50 and they ended up getting a field goal. And then the defense turns it on and it goes from a 14-point game with the Bengals on the plus side of the 50 to a freaking 30-point game in like the next minute and a half. Yeah. So how does this offense look in the second half if it's a 17-10 game at halftime, 17-6 game at halftime, to where you just can't breeze through the second half and make it all look easy and dandy? And then even a defense on the opposite side, not saying the Bengals weren't trying, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we're down freaking 35 in the third quarter.
Missing their starting corner, missing Shamar Stewart. Yes, they had Trey Hendrickson, but they were not a fully stacked unit by any means.
Right. I think the defense, the offense definitely looked better, but at the same time, the offense is going to look better when you can just kind of open the playbook up, 4-minute offense. Let's just chew the clock with Jordan Mason. This team is packing it in right now, and you basically just can't do anything to let them back into the game. That was their one goal for, 2 quarters of this game.
Well, I will add, because you do make a good point I meant to bring up, which is when we started to see similar play calls to what we saw the first 2 weeks, those play action, those long developing plays, Wentz got sacked a bunch. I think he got sacked 2 or 3 times in the course of a quarter. Yeah. And so I think I agree with you. I still think that offensive philosophy can, like, obviously if you're down 3 or down 7 at the end of a game in a 2-minute drill, you're going to have to make different decisions, right? And you're going to have to operate a lot differently. But I think if that's working, I don't see a lot of reason to get away with it, because that opening drive, when you didn't know exactly what the Bengals were going to come out with, they ran very quick and focused pass game and leaned on Mason, and it worked then too, which for Kevin O'Connell's scripted plays to open games was a bit of a different philosophy, because he likes to start with the run and then open up more mid to deep passes. He just kind of worked the short game. So I'd stick with it unless you have a reason not to, but I definitely understand where you're coming from. There's going to be times where this team's facing different situations and has to let it fly regardless of who's under center.
And with Jordan Addison coming back, it's time to have a conversation about Adam Thielen. Yes. I think I was beating this drum a while ago.
My bad.
But he has done absolutely nothing to prove that he deserves the ball moving forward when Jordan Addison gets back in the lineup. Absolutely nothing.
And Naylor's been dependable other than a couple boneheaded plays. Maybe a lot of people say he fell on that interception last week. But, Naylor, for the most part, has been very solid. Yeah, so,
sure. I just, it feels kind of like, I like Adam Thielen. I loved the storyline, but I knew, it was nostalgia for fans. It wasn't going to help this team necessarily. Again, I just needed him to be at least somewhat helpful in these 3 weeks while Addison's out. And I don't know that you had necessarily seen a lot of that, right? Like
2-point conversion. He got the 2-point.
I needed even a little more than what we got. And it's unfortunate, right? Because I love the connection. It's very unfortunate because he is a great human being, but I'm also like, see, I told you guys, we didn't need to keep wanting this so gosh darn badly. We just needed it wasn't
the only reason I'm bummed out. I'll be honest. I think he's playing exactly how I expected as far as his ability to get open, which is not much. The reason I really wanted him was after being in camp, we desperately needed hands. I'm shocked that he has, I think, 2 or 3 drops this year, which for him, that's the thing where I'm like, whoa, that's the one thing I thought, hey, I wasn't expecting any 100-yard, even 50-yard games from him, but I was just expecting, hey, in a pinch on a 3rd down, you could throw it to him a couple yards past the sticks and he'd catch it. He's had a couple drops. And so that's the part where I'm like, that was the thing we were supposed to be able to depend on with you. And that's where I'm like, oh man, what's going on?
I think people are going to realize very fast how good Jordan Addison is if people ever forgot. But they're going to realize in the next 2 weeks what kind of difference he makes for this offense. Another guy that can just basically beat any corner in the NFL at times when he's playing his best.
And think of what that does for Jefferson. Like Jefferson's out there. And again, we know Naylor has big playability occasionally. He's got to be consistent at his route running and tracking the ball. But they're not like, oh my gosh, is Adam Thielen going to burn us 70 yards downfield right now? So they know to keep an eye on Jefferson. Addison coming back is going to help both of them so much. And I think I can't wait, assuming JJ McCarthy does come back, whether it's in London or against Philly, to see, and Leighton, you witnessed this, the connection he had with Addison in camp was insane. It was, and whether it was Addison maybe didn't run a perfect route, McCarthy would know where to get him the ball, or McCarthy didn't throw a perfect pass, Addison would be able to track it and bring it in perfectly. So that's going to be a huge value.
100%.
All right, boys, let's dive into some comments from YouTube, which will touch on some of those points we just made. Our first comment coming from Jared P. I'm just going to go with P because I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. He says, with Rodgers being a baller, and when Cashman comes back next week to Wilson, our defense shouldn't be insane. So the question to you is, fill in the blank. The biggest reason for the Vikings defense success against the Bengals was, Jason, why don't you start?
Jake Browning. I mean, I don't know. There's like a number of different ways you can get.
Yeah.
There's a number of different ways you can go. I mean, you have to shout out guys like Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez. Maybe not super sexy statistical numbers, but they were in there and causing damage at the line of scrimmage. The entire defensive front was on fire. Ivan Pace, not a massive statistical day, but was all over, or not Ivan Pace, sorry, Dallas Turner, all over the field. Ivan Pace also had some big plays. Harrison Smith, look, he's not a spring chicken, but like he was the tip pass. He had pressure a couple times on safety blitzes. Like it was just, I think the whole unit. Obviously, you can't depend, and it's not to take away from what Isaiah Rodgers, you can't depend on that week in and week out. Like there's a lot of skill involved in that and a lot of hard work, but there's also some level of luck that comes to being in the right place at the right time, just a little bit, but you can't count on that every single week, right? But I'd say Brian Flores, the scheme he dialed up was psychotic. Watching some of the all-22 film, they showed all-out blitzes at one point and then went to cover 2. They were messing with Browning, and I think probably the last time he played Browning, because Flores was the DC in 23. They probably took it for granted that they didn't have to get crazy, and I think Browning showed he's not for a backup. He's not some schlub. Like he can throw a lot of yardage. He'll have some turnovers. But they just messed with him, and they did not let them find the slightest bit of rhythm.
Yeah, I think.
I loved all the memes yesterday, being like, it was reasonable to cut me, or you definitely should have cut me.
Someone should make an AI video of that where he says
they did. They edited out the not. They edited out the you should have never cut me, and just to say you should have cut me.
That's just totally so overblown by him. It's like, dude, you were nowhere even close to like
in the moment. I get it, because he kind of did that throw to T. Higgins. Obviously, you had a Caleb Evans in coverage, and you had Mackay celebrating 10 feet away. But I'm like, hey, talk your talk in that moment. I can't get mad, but now in hindsight, it's so funny.
It
was dumb. But I think that blank is Brian Flores. I mean, Jason said, the scheme was just absolutely disgusting from snap 1 to the end of the game. Jake Browning was just in over his head, had no idea what was going on. And I think Harrison Smith Aaron Rodgers has said this for years. He's one of the best, I don't even know what the word is, makeshifters of defense pre-snap that Rodgers, however long he's been in the league, however many times he's played against Harrison Smith, he's never been able to pick up on tendencies, know what's coming. Because as soon as a quarterback gets to the line, they're looking at the safeties. And when you're watching Harrison Smith and pre-snap, everything is on the line with Harrison Smith. So getting him back, getting that chess piece back for Brian Flores makes a world of a difference for the entire defense, because the quarterback just doesn't know what's coming anymore. And it makes it difficult for everyone on offense, and it makes it a little bit easier for everyone on defense. I think it was an all-around great game. And I think this is what we were hoping to see out of this defense. Obviously, we're not going to get 2 touchdowns every game and 5 turnovers, but this is a taste of what the defensive roster was built for. And now we've seen that top end football they can play for the rest of the season.
We'll take it. Let's flip to the other side of the ball now. Our comment 2 coming from Big Bear 73. He says, thank God we had Darisaw back, because our O-line isn't very good outside of him. Way too many penalties. So the question I have for you boys, and we'll start with you this time, Leighton. Is it too early to say the Minnesota Vikings O-line isn't that good?
Yeah, it's way too early. I mean, I wouldn't even say that they're not that good. Does last week the struggles were, you're missing your left tackle, missing your left tackle for any team in the NFL is going to put a big strain on your offensive line. But when it's a top 3, top 5 left tackle in the league, then that's going to completely change the entire output of this offense. So not only were you missing him, but then you were missing your starting center, who's probably arguably the second most important lineman. You can rank them in whatever order you want, but like the guy who's making the calls, that guy that's touching the ball every single play, calling out, picking up blitzes and all that, he goes out mid-game, and then you got a first-year starter under center. So it was just a whirlwind of stuff that went wrong last week. And then you get Darisaw back in the lineup. Juergens gets a week of practice under his belt. And I've been beating this drum that it's going to take time for this offensive line to mesh. There's 3 out of the 5 guys are new players on this team. So it's going to take time for that interior to mesh with the guys on the outside, and for Donovan Jackson to get adjusted into the NFL. So, it's going to take time. I wouldn't say that I think the Vikings offensive line is going to be awesome. And that's why I thought this team was going to come on strong towards the end of the year, because they're going to be meshing. The offense is going to be flowing. And that's when the offensive line needs to be making it happen. And deep in the playoffs, when the winter comes around and you're playing, in Chicago, in Green Bay, you're going to Philly for a playoff game, whatever it is, the run game needs to be there. That's what hasn't been there the last couple of years with KOC. And now with this new offensive line, it should be there down the stretch when everything's said and done and ready to go.
Jason, are you vibing with the offensive line? What are your feelings right now, 3 weeks in?
Not a single one of my thoughts from before the season has changed as far as this offensive line playing together. We have yet to see the full unit played a single game together, still. And Leighton made a great point earlier. Look what Darisaw did for Donovan Jackson, who I have all the faith in the world in Donovan Jackson. I think, obviously, at that position when you're young, it's going to take you some time. Not only he's still going to be putting on weight, he's still going to be putting on strength. He's still going to be figuring out the speed of the game, but he has not played a game between his starting left tackle and his starting center one time. That is going to be huge. Will Fries has had some ups and downs, but I still think at his best, he's extremely raw and physical and is just a dog. If you want to see maybe a comparison of how much we've improved, there was a certain guard on the Bengals who used to play in Minnesota, and Bengals fans posting some film from that game, not only this game, but last week's game, are notably very annoyed with what is happening. This man is getting pancaked all over. So again, you're never going to have an offensive line that doesn't allow a single pressure, that doesn't give up a single sack ever. But man, this offensive line really is new and improved compared to what we've been used to. And again, we haven't even seen them all on the field together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and Will Fries, again, another guy who missed 12 games, 13 games last year. So it's like he's still getting back into the flow of things too.
100%. And given the injury he had, it's still like getting in your stance and being comfortable using your legs to gain leverage. Like, because I think he broke his leg, right? So like it takes a minute. That's not like, oh, the guy's coming off an injury, you shouldn't have signed him. It's like, no, he has insane strength and he's shown that a few times, but it just takes a minute. And to your point, Leighton, I'd rather the team figure it out now and be ready at the end of the season compared to last year where we started with the team. The offensive line looked really good to start. And then towards the end of the year, whether it was the play calling, whatever it was, we started just getting Darnold sacked a ton.
Yeah.
Which is why we addressed the offensive line to begin with, is how things fell off at the end of last year.
No, that's fair. Final comment from YouTube for us this week. Nathan says Rodgers versus Rodgers next next week. All right, so who do we got? Isaiah Rodgers and the Vikings or Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers? Jason, your pick first.
I got the Vikings. If the offense keeps it simple and leans on the run, again, quick passing, a lot of effective running. Obviously, the Steelers have a much better defensive scheme and defensive unit, I think, than what we've seen from the Bengals team that was on the field yesterday. But Rodgers, like, he's just... the big thing that people have gotten quiet about, even with their critiques of McCarthy, is we should have signed Rodgers because Rodgers isn't doing a whole lot right now. I think he had that 4 touchdown game in week 1, but since then he's thrown an interception in yesterday and I think last week as well. His rating hasn't been great. I think the biggest thing with him is that he has 20 years of NFL experience to try to be able to identify things. His mental game is where I think they're going to have the biggest challenge. It's going to be a chess match. He's not as mobile as he once was. He's not as quick on his feet. So I think if you can get to him and just give him a second to hesitate, you're going to be able to dominate that unit. You should be able to.
Should be able to. Leighton.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's definitely the matchup to watch, not specifically Rodgers against Rodgers, but that offense against this defense. I think the Vikings offense should be able to handle the Steelers defense pretty soundly, just the way the Steelers defense has been playing lately. The secondary's rough. There's a lot of names on that defense. When you're watching the game early in the morning, you're going to hear Jalen Ramsey. You're going to hear Darius Slay, Cam Hayward. You're going to hear a lot of names, but it's not 4 or 5 years ago. So those names don't carry the weight as they used to, and this could all look bad after Sunday morning. But at the same time, I think Rodgers, and we were just talking about him playing Harrison Smith for years, trying to recognize what he's doing pre-snap. But I think with this Vikings defense healthy and the depth they have at D-line against that Steelers offensive line, I think it could get ugly for the Steelers. But yet again, it's an overseas game, and you never know what's going to happen with those games across the pond.
And Aaron Rodgers probably is going to come out a little pissed off against the Vikings because he, as much as he's probably happy to be in Pittsburgh, that was not his first choice. And I think the matchup we all wanted was for agendas on both sides was McCarthy versus Rodgers. Seems highly McCarthy is making the trip, so I wouldn't be shocked if he somehow ends up playing in London. But definitely not this week. That's completely off the table, I think, in my opinion. But I do think that Rodgers will have a little extra fire. We've seen from him in the past, sometimes that causes him to make mistakes, but like 80% of the time he has his best games, it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Let's just all be happy we don't have to watch School or Walter Rouse against TJ Watt and Myles Garrett the next 2 weeks. Let's just be...
Shout out to the Browns, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out
to the Browns. That was
Dude
incredible.
Wipe unis are undefeated. And if you think I'm kidding, no, they're literally sponsored by Dude Wipes. Look it up.
Brilliant.
That
We love it.
was awesome. But yeah, no, let's just be thankful we have Christian Darrisaw back in the lineup, and we have to watch that massacre go down next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Off topic, we hinted at it, but I'd be remiss if we did not shout out my shining star, my beautiful sweet prince, the glowing light above all Vikings fandom right now, Mr. Billiam Reichard. Franchise record 62-yard kick would have been good for maybe 70. Absolutely. At the people who were doubting him. And I had a John Parker Romo agenda last year when Reichard was out. People said we looked alike, so I embraced it. And people last week were even saying, even though Reichard hadn't missed a kick, like, oh, we should have kept Romo. Look at him coming in and all. Well, they cut Young Oku, and then all of a sudden he doesn't make a field goal yesterday. So funny how that works.
Yeah.
But I love JPR, but man, do feel for him on that, but that is ironic. But man, Will, my guy, I just have to shout out Will.
I think he's got 5 out of the 6 longest field goals in Vikings history now.
Yeah.
And people wanted to cut him because shockingly, you come back, I think it was a quad or hamstring injury last year, and his kicking form wasn't the same, and he was having stiffness. Why would you give up? Why would you give up? That I said in the moment, that's another one I'm going to bust the receipts out, that was a great pick in the draft because people were mad that we were drafted a kicker instead of just getting one UDFA. But Will Reichard is that man. That dude has that dog in him.
We love it. Look forward to seeing him make a few kicks this Sunday, 8:30 a.m. My birthday as well, which leads me into the Vikings by a million because it's my birthday.
Yes.
Obviously, that's all I need for my.
It's going to be your 21st birthday, right? So
21st. That leads into my before I die. I go every year. I go to Oktoberfest in La Crosse. If you guys have never been, it is the best Oktoberfest experience. La Crosse, Wisconsin, with my best friends. And somehow every year I celebrate it like it's my 21st birthday. And before I die, I'm going to learn and not do such things this year. That's the hope. That's fingers crossed. I'll check in with you guys Sunday morning with a Bloody Mary watching the Vikings. So
Monday morning should be fun, Jessi.
Monday morning's always going to be a good time. I have no children for the weekend either. It starts 9 a.m. on Friday and goes all weekend. So it's a good time. But yes, Skol Vikings, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Purple Dailies Before I Die. Again, don't forget to check out all of our other Score North content. Purple Daily, we're rocking, we're rolling. And I want to give a shout out to my boy Declan on the birth of his baby boy who.
Congrats, Declan.
Congrats, Dex.
Lives in Isaiah Rodgers' shadow, but that's okay. Have a good one, guys. We'll catch you next week. Skol Vikings.